You know, I hear it all the time. Why the would anyone want to mess with tape? Or, I haven't messed with that junk for years. And I think those are valid opinions. After all, everybody is living their own life, and what's important to me may not be important to you. And what you enjoy may be unique to you and you alone. For me, I enjoy analog media. Why, you ask? Well, join me today for my top 7 reasons that I love tape. I'm definitely not young, but I also don't think I'm old either. I believe that I come from the last generation to really embrace physical media. Think about it. Folks my age grew up listening to tapes and records. Tape could be reel-to-reel or cassettes, possibly 8 tracks, but mostly the good old cassette tape. We made mixes, we recorded ourselves singing, we waited for our favorite song to come on the radio so that we could record it. It was a simpler time. We were also the first to really embrace digital music as well. You know, sure, there were digital audio formats before the CD, but the compact disc really was the revolution. Many of us bought our music collection all over again, this time on CD. We switched our cassette Walkman for a Discman and marveled at the crystal clear audio and the ability to magically play tracks at random. Eventually, we tossed our Discman in a drawer and downloaded MP3 music, or bought an iPod. Now we stream. We've been through it all, and we've enjoyed every minute of it. So why would we want to go back now and revisit analog tape? That's the question that I hope to answer with this list. So let's get into reason number 1. I can hold a tape in my hands. I can feel it. I can see it, but with streaming, you don't even have a digital copy of your music living somewhere. It's just up in the cloud somewhere. Now sure, it sounds great, but try showing your friends the latest album you just bought. What are you going to do? Hold up your phone? Cassettes gave us a physical copy of the album that we could own. We could hold it in our hands, we could see it, we could smell the tape, we could let a friend borrow it. You didn't need a username and password if you wanted to listen to your favorite album somewhere. You just needed a cassette deck, and everyone had one of those. And the album art? You just don't get that with streaming or downloads. Now that leads me to reason number 2. There just simply isn't any packaging on a stream, or even on an MP3 download for that matter. Pictures on a computer monitor aren't the same. With cassettes and records especially, you had physical albums with art that you could hold in your hands. You could read it, you could study it, you could enjoy it. Walking through a music store back in the day, I know many of my purchases were based on the art on the album. I discovered artists that I would never have heard if it wasn't for an eye-catching album cover. Progression? Well, what do you mean by that, Chad? Well, I want you to imagine something with me. Close your eyes. Now you've opened your favorite streaming app on your phone. You've picked a playlist that you put together and you hit play. Now you sit your phone down and you walk away. You've been listening to music for a while, enjoying yourself. Well, how much longer is this going to play for? How much of it is already played? Now that's a pretty tough question without doing a little bit of digging through your phone. Now here's a mixtape. It's at the beginning and I press play. Now what happens? The progression of the tape through the mechanism begins. I can see that this tape is at the beginning. So can everyone else in the room. Okay, now how about this? How much is left? How about now? You understand my point? With tape especially, you can always see where you are on the tape at just a glance. And it doesn't require any great skill. Now this works with cassettes or reel-to-reel, even records. Now that's vinyl for all you youngsters, but that's a different video. And maybe that's why I'm not a fan of the 8-track. There really isn't anything to see. But that topic leads me perfectly into number 4. Well, who doesn't like to be entertained? I mean, that's why we listen to music in the first place, right? It's entertaining. Now, with most types of physical media, there's some kind of a show, a physical process playing out before your eyes. The movement of the reels, the sound of the tape transport, flicking VU meters, flashing VU meters, lights. It's audio entertainment for sure, but there's a bit of physical show too. It's the culmination of all your hard work after you've made I feel really sorry for the generations who haven't experienced the joy and sometimes frustration of the mixtape. Taking your favorite songs and creating your own unique masterpiece. Sitting there and calculating out how much time you need and how much time you have on each side of the tape. Carefully starting and stopping the recording at just the right spot. Listing your songs on the J card. It was just an experience. We created tapes for friends. We had a tape for road trips, one for a first date. We had dance music, love songs, music to get pumped up, studying music. It didn't matter. You were the DJ. It was your creation. And we loved it, except when we didn't. Now, I'm not trying to paint cassettes or even tape in general as a perfect format. It didn't always sound great. In fact, sometimes it sounded downright terrible, like garbage. But the times we got it right, oh my goodness, did it sound amazing. And here are a few basics of what you have to understand we went through when we were recording to tape. There are a lot of things to consider that all make a huge difference when it comes to the result. And any of these being wrong will make for a bad experience, guaranteed. First, you have the type of tape. Just like anything else, you do get what you pay for when it comes to blank cassettes. It was true back then, and it's true now. From the cheapest, nastiest of bargain basement brands to the highest quality studio-grade cassettes and everything in between. Second, you have your equipment. Garbage in, garbage out, right? If you have junk equipment, you don't get good results, period. I know the combination of cheap tapes and cheap equipment gave people the wrong impression of cassettes back in the day, and that continues nowadays too. Besides that, you have to be sure your recording levels are set properly, your source is good. There's really a lot to it. Besides that, we had something called generational loss in analog recording that people today just don't understand. Because digital music copied digitally is identical to the source. Analog isn't that way. When you make a copy of tape, it loses quality. Make a copy of that copy, and it's even worse. And it just continues on and on and on. So if you're making a mixtape from your friend's mixtape, yours is going to sound worse. Now, I always enjoyed the challenge of getting the best quality possible from what I had. That's one of the big draws of analog media for me. Even as a kid, I worked very hard to ensure my recordings were on good tapes and good equipment. All the levels were right, and the final result was always great. Well, not always. It's easy to get a perfect result with digital. It takes practice and a little skill to get an exceptional analog recording. And that's the part that I really love, the challenge. Now that wasn't a surprise, is it? As we get older, many of us enjoy reliving some things from our youth that we remember fondly. Tape brings me back to a simpler time, a time before we had every song ever recorded available instantly at our fingertips. I think being more focused on what we had available made us more aware of the complexities in music and the quirks that made those artists amazing. We listened to many of the same songs over and over again. Some of us wore out our tapes. That was part of the fun. To me, it's nice to pop in a tape, watch the progression of time move across the front panel, and let myself become mesmerized by the movement and the lights, and just relax and enjoy the experience. After all, our ears and our body really are an analog machine too. There's something about simple analog music that just makes me feel great. I can bring that simpler time back, even if it's for just 30 minutes aside. I'm sure there are numerous other reasons why people love tape. I know I could probably break these reasons down into even more and have a list that's 50 items long and a video that runs for 2 hours. But these are really my top 7 main reasons why I still enjoy tape. And really any analog media for that matter. There's just something that's warm and familiar about it. That feeling of owning a copy of your favorite music, something that's tangible and real that you can put your hands on. So what do you think? Do you share any of my top 7 reasons? Or do you have other reasons why you love tape? What about the younger generation out there? Do any of my reasons make sense to you or give you a little bit more insight into why us old people still mess around with this stuff? Let me know what you think in the comments. I look forward to the discussions and the thoughts on the topic. And I want to take just a few moments to thank each and every one of you for your continued support of the channel. You're all very special to me and I appreciate you watching. Until next time, happy listening.